Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Prescott. Welcome to this meeting of Love Ops, a program dedicated to help those who have loved ones in prison. Please help me open this meeting by reciting the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity
to accept things I cannot change, the courage to change things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
In consideration of everyone here, please silence your phones. Please also refrain from texting or any other unnecessary use of it. If something comes up and you need to use your phone, please take it outside and make sure to return afterward. Thank you. This is a non-smoking building and campus, and we ask you to respect this. We have snacks, coffee, and other beverages here for you, provided by Lighthouse and by one of our members, Roseanne. We look for volunteers among our participants who might not only serve as chairperson, but also any who might be willing to help us set up before and clean up after each meeting. If you're interested in providing either service, please speak to myself, John, or Kenny, or Michelle after tonight's meeting. Love Ops is a program that provides support to those people in society who suffer from having a loved one who either is or has been in prison and or is currently on post-release supervision. No one truly understands what this group of people is going through except others who are going through the same thing. Love Ops helps people with incarceration-related loved ones work as a support group for each other. Our meetings follow this direction. 2 meetings of the month. The scheduled speaker is someone who has already experienced or is continuing to experience having a loved one who either is incarcerated and or on post-release supervision. These speakers provide the participants with information, knowledge, confidence, and hope based on their experiences. They share what has worked for them and what has not, so that we can benefit from their experiences. 2, 1 meeting, the speaker is either a professional who works somewhere in the field of those who are incarcerated or are on parole, probation, or supervision, or someone who has been incarcerated. These speakers provide enlightenment to the participants. 3, 1 meeting is always chaired by one of our leaders and geared toward a recap of what has been learned through the previous meetings of that month. This meeting will allow for open discussion. 5, whenever we have a week in the month where there is a 5th evening that we would normally have a meeting on, we will hold something different and special for that month, i.e. a social event such as a potluck meal, a meeting at Dunkin' Donuts, possibly a barbecue or whatnot. Each meeting will last 1 hour. We will also provide 15 minutes before and 30 minutes afterward for greeting and socializing. I have asked Kenny, to read Love Ops Standards, handout number 1.
Love Ops Standards. We will always work to maintain solid communications with everyone, with clearly defined relationships and obligations, and promote a commitment throughout the organization to our common mission and goals. 1. We will help the families of those who are incarcerated and are on post-release supervision. 2. We will provide a regular meeting place for those support group meetings. 3. When possible, we will build pre-release relationships with both those who are incarcerated and their families in preparation for successful transition back into society. 4. We will encourage the members of the support group to serve as mentors to others in their position. 5. We will encourage the members of the support group to establish or support a community service effort. 6. We will advise the families of their loved ones' success is more likely if he, she, or they see their family's pre-knowledge, preparation, church life, etc. We will always work to convey useful information to increase awareness of their troubled loved ones' needs. 8. We will always work to provide resources, contacts pertinent to the loved one's needs. 9. We will provide opportunities for relationship building. And 10. We will maintain Christianity as our basis of inspiration and guidance, always encouraging the support group to enjoy the benefits of building a relationship with God, always promoting that they find a home church to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenny. That's all. Give him a hand. We ask everyone to respect the following guidelines during our meeting. A, always be respectful at all times of everyone here. B, please raise your hand anytime you wish to speak and wait to be called upon to do so. C, at all times, please refrain from using profanity, racial comments, sexual slurs, and/or threats. D, during the open floor, please limit your time frame when speaking. If it becomes too long, the chairperson will intervene by giving you a sign that you have 1 minute remaining. This will be done to allow ample time for everyone to speak. And most importantly, E, what we hear in here stays in here. Hear, hear?
Here, here.
All right. Please welcome our leadership team. Again, my name is Prescott.
John?
Michelle.
Kenny?
Kenny. Also, I'd like to go around the room, and if everyone present tonight might want to just introduce yourself by your first name only, please.
Janice.
Kenny.
John?
Michelle.
Richard.
Prescott.
Vicki.
Rich.
And again, welcome to all our participants. By a show of hands, is there anyone here for the first time? You want to take just a moment to tell us a sentence or two about why you're here?
I'm presently at the JC Recovery House after getting reinstated on parole. And John Eddings gave me an invitation, and Kenny also told me about the Love Ops program and what it represents, and asked if I would like to come, and I said sure.
So being on parole, you had done some time, in other words.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I heard you mention how long?
I got like 34 years.
You served 34 years?
Yes, sir.
We're
I
glad.
did 13 years. I got paroled out, and I was out 3 years and got a misdemeanor. They sent me back, and I did almost 20 years on the misdemeanor, and they paroled me out again.
Well, Richard, we're glad you're here tonight, and welcome home.
All right, thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Good.
Our speaker will share for approximately 20 minutes. Afterward, the floor will be open for everyone's questions and discussion. Now, it is my privilege to introduce tonight's speaker. Actually, we have a dynamic duo, even though it's primarily Vicki, who has a son that's currently incarcerated, and her husband, Rich. Let's give them a big hand.
Thank you. Hi. One of the things that I wanted to discuss tonight was how important having people is when we're going through this. I'm gonna just a quick rundown of what brought us here. So, my son Ryan was 18 years old in 2009. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison. He did the 3 years at Lancaster, which was a youthful offender camp at the time. While he was there, he got his GED, certificate in irrigation for irrigation training from Gateway College. He was released May of 2012. He was 21 years old. State of Florida does not do a very good job preparing people for release. And one of the things that I would like to try to do is prepare the family for when their loved one is released, because we believed at 21 years old he came out clean of drugs, and nobody was going to ever want to go back to prison. So we gave him a car, he got a job, we thought this is great. Well, was 5 months later he was rearrested, and this time he was sentenced to 30 years. He did all of his time up north in the Panhandle, average anywhere between a 6-hour and a 9.5-hour drive for us to visit. He's been at Franklin, Gulf, went to Madison, ran into problems in Madison and was put on CM. He started his confinement in May of 2017. confinement was basically solitary, no phone calls, no visits. In June, they finally officially put him on CM. In September, they moved him to FSP, Florida State. He did CM1 and CM2 at Florida State. Some of the people here have been to Florida State. I always try to tell people as a visitor, it's one of the worst camps you could ever visit. Seeing my son in shackles, and he doesn't even get a chair during our visit behind the glass in a non-air conditioned facility, not knowing how he could survive that. That was rough for both of us. Anyhow, he did finally went CM2. Finally, June of 2019, well, after that, in December 2018, he went to CM3, and he was moved to Santa Rosa, another one of Florida's notorious prisons. But at least we were allowed to see him in person at Santa Rosa. Our first visit, though, of course, they said he had too much hair on his face, and they canceled our visit while we were sitting at the table. You get by these, but this is where I'm coming from. You get by because you meet family, okay? Not trying to compare, because God knows I never want to know what it's like to lose a child, but I do know people that have. And if you have faith, you believe your child has moved on to a better place. And it's not that you ever get over it, it's not that, but you have a sense of calm of where your child is. I don't have that. Anybody who has a child in prison or a loved one in prison, you don't have that. I have guilt at night when I lay down in my bed because I know what my son is like. It took me probably 8 years before I would tell him what we were eating for dinner. After a while, he asked me to get involved in prison reform. My husband, he's been my rock, okay? I mean, his son too, but he's had to kind of carry us both. Getting involved and trying to find things. I got invited to the Love Ops meeting from John. Didn't know who I was, just some crazy lady writing on the computer. Started coming, it's been almost 2 years. And I'm gonna let Richie take over a little bit on how important the family has become.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to start out by saying, trying to give a short chronology. When this incident happened with my son, when he was rearrested, I'll never forget that afternoon. I got a phone call from my neighbor saying, "Hey, Rich, come down the corner of the street. Ryan has been stopped, and there's a couple of cops out there." I ran down there and I saw him in cuffs, and I knew right then and there that he was pretty much, that it was done, because I knew that he violated. I saw what, with him being handcuffed, the police officer came up to me after they had him in the patrol car for a while, and I'm pretty sure I was wearing one of my firefighter shirts, and didn't know him, but he knew that I was a firefighter, and he goes, he couldn't tell me anything. He just said that we have to take him in. He violated his probation. And my whole world was turned upside down from that day. I came back. Vicki was down the street with me too, and we just came back, and we pretty much were in shock. We had no idea what was going on. Finally found out. My memory's a little foggy on this, but when I found out what he was accused of, it really shook me up. Because I remember the conversations I had with him when I saw him going down the wrong path. And I sat him and his friends down in the kitchen of my house when I had feeling that, you know, we could just tell that he wasn't doing right. And I told him at one point, I just kind of exploded with him and his friends there. I said, you know, are you going to get to a point where Mom and Dad's not going to take care of you? It's going to be the state of Florida that's going to take care of you. Don't take your freedom for granted. And I think this was when he was 16 years old. And, you know, telling a teenage 16-year-old kid something like that, I guess it just went in this ear and went out the other. Sure enough, a couple of years went by and he ended up being taken care of by the state. For years, and I'm not going to say I don't have it anymore, I harbor a lot of guilt. You know, I guess it's normal for fathers to second guess themselves on what you could have done to prevent him from taking the wrong path, beating myself up over it, and through coming to these meetings, I've come to realize that there's really, and hearing a lot of the stories, you know, people's individual stories, there's really not a lot that could have been done for me to prevent it. I mean, I still think, you know, certain things, you know, I was a firefighter, I still am, but I always worked 2-3 jobs, and could I have spent more time with him, and you know, maybe not working all the time and being home and being available to give him a little bit more guidance. That always lays heavy with me, but coming to these meetings, it helped me realize that these feelings that I have are quite normal. And I got to admit, when I first attended these Love House meetings, my wife and I, over 2 years ago now, I felt a little intimidated coming in here. First off, when I came in, I saw that it was like 90% women. There weren't too many fathers that would be attending this meeting. And but after coming every week, I gradually warmed up to it, and I realized that I could let go. I could let go of some of my feelings. I could listen to everybody sharing about, you know, the moms, mostly moms, but a few fathers, saying how they feel like they're doing time with their own children that are incarcerated. And it just kind of clicked on me. I said, you know what, we're not alone in this journey, you know, and it's become like a little family here. Everybody has a very, you know, has a sympathetic ear. And by the same token, you have incarcerated that were released, and when they hear our story and we communicate with them, it gives us hope to see that, you know, our Ryan has a chance when he gets out. They can lead productive lives, just like the folks that are attending this meeting. But with me, I was faced with a lot of shame at first. I didn't want to go to work. You got a picture. I work with a lot of cops. I work with a lot of firefighters. I've been in the business for 42 years. Even though I'm not responding to emergency calls right now, I'm still in it. You know, it's in my blood. I've been serving my community for 42 years. And when this happened to my son, and I would attend, you know, go to lunch in the headquarters in the public safety building where all my fellow firefighters were, and sometimes cops would come by to have coffee, I wouldn't even want to show my face because once they found out what happened to my son, and he was all over the news, and things that occurred, you know, what was being broadcast about him, which I knew most of it wasn't true, it made me very upset, and I was embarrassed for myself, for him, and shamed. So it's been pretty rough initially when it happened, but Vicki and I had each other, we have each other, and before we even discovered these meetings, we just kind of leaned on each other. But coming to these Lighthouse, the Love Ops meetings through the Lighthouse Church has lightened the burden quite a bit. And I can only say that if there's any, I'm speaking for the fathers out there that have loved ones in prison, that this is a very valuable program for us. It's a very strong support group, and I'm really thankful for it because it helps me cope quite a bit. And that's pretty much my story. I know I was jumping around, but
Well,
Vic?
I try to tell people, I have a Facebook page, and I meet people, hundreds of people now, thousands of people. There's a lot of us out there. You start out in this journey, and you think you're alone, and you don't realize, and you're afraid to tell people. Like what you said, it's shame. I've learned that I am not ashamed anymore. I have a wonderful son. I have a son who has grown. I mean, I started his thing. Right now, he has over 65 certificates. He has taken language arts. Could not get him to do schoolwork when he was in school. All he wanted to do was play football, which he was an excellent football player. But he has, Richie and I paid for him to do some classes. He's paralegal, took criminal law. He's taken Spanish, language arts, loves history, social studies, and theological and betterment classes. He's not a bad person, and I am proud of who he is. This is the road we had to take. Why, I don't know. Someday I plan on asking God. He'll tell me. It's the road we all had to take. It's the road he had to take. And I am proud of him. I've had people that were in with him get out and call me and tell me. I had one guy tell me he had a wife and a child, and he said, but he wasn't concerned about coming home to them. He didn't think anything about it. You know, it wasn't going to be his future. And he met Ryan, and Ryan makes everybody work out. He gets them all out there, and they have to work out. Okay, they have to run the track, they have to stay in shape, because you're going to go home, and when you go home, you got to be in shape to take care of your family. He also makes them read. And this guy didn't know how to read, and Ryan taught him to read, and he told me on the phone that Ryan saved him because he got him out of a gang, and he got him to take care of himself, to go home. And he's working on trains up in Georgia, you know. I mean, he's with his wife and his child. So, yeah, it's hard, and if you're going through this, it is hard. But when you meet people, and John, Kenny, Prescott, you know, I see that my son has a future. My son can be something. Thank you. And that's all any mom wants, you know. I want to know that he'll have a life. Okay, when they handed me that baby on New Year's Eve, I never dreamt this is the direction we would go. None of us do. But it's part of his journey. And I meet people, I get him, Richie and I have for 2 years now been invited to the picnic with all the guys that are paroled and their families. And I can sit there for hours and watch them with their families because it's so amazing to me. It's something that I never thought was possible. The love, the moving on. And so that tells me that my son has a future, that this is not where his life ends. And for whatever reason, he goes through this. Maybe he helps other people get through certain things. Maybe I do. Maybe I can help another mom get through something. It's great, you know, when I get to talk to somebody, you know, they call me, maybe their child has just gotten put into CM, solitary. That's a scary feeling. Been there. My son made it out. Your son can make it out. Anyhow, this group is great, and they started me opening my mouth. They may not like that, but they got me started because I don't close it often. But it's kind of where I'm at. If anybody has any questions. That's Jim's.
Yeah. But the record you got. I just want to say that I love you guys so much. And just listening to you both, talk about what you're going through with Ryan and, the strength that you have. It just puts me in the mind of the things that my mom went through, with my brother being incarcerated for so long. And sometimes I feel like I took her for granted because, I was like, he's okay, but I really admire you both, and Rich. It's okay that you had to work, because if you didn't work, you wouldn't be able to take care of your family, But we as children, when we get a certain age, we feel like, I'm almost grown, I can do this, I got this, so you all are so encouraging to me, and I wish my mom would have been able to see my brother get out, and he does for me now what I think that he would have been doing for my mom if she would have been here. He always tells me, I don't want to see you without. He always asks me, you need anything? I say, I always need something, but I'm good. And when I need it, I'll ask you for it, He said, I just don't want to see you without, and I appreciate that, because when he was incarcerated, I couldn't do a lot for him, but I would make sure he had money on his books, and I made sure I went to visit him, because I was the only one. My girls and my grandkids, we would go and see him after my mom died, So I really appreciate that. And Ryan, I know he appreciates your visits and everything, and the people that, call and write him. I try to do it as often as I can, but I do keep in touch with him, So I love you. Just keep standing strong, and you are going to be here when he gets out. You are going to be here. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Richard?
This is more just a comment and observation than a question, but one of the things they teach us inside is about internal and external deterrence. And for me, and hearing y'all's story, it really touched home by showing me. I heard before, both of my parents passed away while I was in. I heard about the pain and the things that they had went through, but sat here and witnessing, the pain, and you talked about, Shane, but you speak from your heart, and from that, for me, it resonates as an external deterrent, because it shows me what I did to the loved ones in my family, my parents and my brothers and my sisters, and just people in my community. And by sitting here and witnessing the love that you have for your son and the pain that, this has caused everybody, it just drives home the ripple effect. And for me, it's more of an external deterrent to say, I always have to be careful of every decision I make now, because I am on parole, and I'm on life parole. And so by witnessing y'all's testimony, it just drives home another important point, and of the pain that my decision could cause others. So I want to thank y'all for being so vulnerable and sharing your story.
Well, thank you. Just remember, though, I can remember somebody else saying that and telling me that they wondered about what their mom and dad had felt when they love you. I love my baby, and you know, mistakes are made. And that's what they are. And as long as you learn something from them and you move on from them, as a mom, that's all we want. That's it. Okay.
Michelle?
Well, all I have to say is it's perfection. You two are just amazing. And I'm so grateful to call you my friend. Because, you know, Rich, as you said, about having that guilt and shame, you two have brought Ryan up in prison in dire straits, bad things, but that he had to endure. You two were there to stand in the gap for him. And he is growing up to be a wonderful young man and someone to be proud of. I'm proud of him. And I'm proud of you two. You know, and because when God gives you lemons, make lemonade, right? And that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. And I feel very protective over him. And so, you know, he's our son too. You know, and you're my sister and brother, and I love you very dearly, and I'm so proud of all three of you, you, Ryan, and Rich. It's just amazing. Thank you for being my friend and being here.
Thank you.
That what you're saying, that's another thing. This group is also there for my son.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so important. I mean, you guys, right? We can't go visit Ryan without coming back and having all the questions of how it was and the pictures. That's a big deal. That's a big deal because when your child's in prison, you know, again, Richie said with the fire department, most of the kids that my kids grew up with have become firefighters because everybody was firefighters in the neighborhood. My son's in prison. So we get to sit at the, you know, retirement parties and everything, and everybody's talking about their kid is this and that. And my kid's in prison, you know. But he has family. He has lots of family who love him and care about him. I don't know if he would have had this had he been a firefighter. I really don't. Again, I'll say this was his journey. Mm-hmm. And I thank you guys for being there, not just for us, but for my son. So, okay.
One of the things that I really would like to comment on, which I think is a big help with you, and probably more families can probably take heed of. You brought Ryan alive everywhere you went. It wasn't just that I have a son in prison. You painted a picture of a person, not just someone in prison. You know, you talked about his accomplishments, his failures, his fears, everything. You made him into a person instead of an entity, just a guy just in prison, whatever. You made him part of our lives. You know, and we became friends with your son because you brought your son alive. You didn't just hold in the well, my son in prison, I don't know what I'm gonna do, he off in college or whatever, you know. You made your son into a person. You hit us in the face with it. My son is not just a number, he's a person. You know, and like I said, you made Ryan alive to us. And that's one thing I hope anybody that's listening to this now or seeing this, anybody that have loved ones in prison, take heed of that. You just can't sweep them up under the cover. You know, you got to hit us in the face with it. And you got to always look at that loved one as a person with a personality, with fears, with hurts, with aspirations. And you know what I'm saying? He's one of us, man, you know? He's just away for a second, you know? And I'm pretty sure that just that attitude that you have has not only helped him, but probably lots of people around him. You know, I can't say it enough. You know, I really thank you for that. I'm pretty sure he thank you for making him not just Ryan the prisoner, but Ryan the person.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ken.
I'd like to piggyback on that. That's an excellent point, because in hearing your story and in knowing you, Rich, I know it was something you had to carry, you didn't talk about because of the kind of work you did and who you worked with and such, and you had to find your way through that. And rather than your son being, yeah, we have a son in prison, and I can relate to that because that's what I put my family through while I was locked up. And I can imagine that my dad went through much what you went through, and have been going through, only worse. He didn't have anyone to talk to about it or whatever, and that's probably my biggest regret or guilt. But what Kenny had just said about you bringing Ryan with you wherever you go, almost as if he was sitting in the chair next to you, because when you speak about him, then he's a live person and people get to hear about his good points, his personality. They know what he looks like. You might have a picture. So wherever you go, you bring him with you, and you don't only hold him in your heart and your mind, you bring him with you into the group or with the people that you're with. And I think that's a really great trait, and it's a great place to have gotten to, because if I understand correctly, knowing you a little bit, now you not only attend this meeting, I know you're involved with many other people to try to help to make corrections in the correction system, get laws changed for more reasonable sentences. I know that the guy that I support in there now, that you've even been in touch with him, and of course letters are gold. Human contact is gold, especially when there's no family or problems with the family that they don't keep in touch. So I just want to give you big commendations, because from where Rich shared he was at and where I know you were probably at to where you're at now, I mean, everywhere you go, he's in the car with you, he's sitting in this group with us, he's at the forefront of everything you do. So, that's what resonated with me as well. When you made the point that you never want to have to lose a child. A mother should never have to lose a child. But at least if they were to lose the child, you had said, they know where he's at, they know what happened. But to have a child get locked up, and then to start to become aware of how that child is, what they're eating, how they're sleeping, what they're going through, whatever, and there is no finality to it as if they had died and gone to heaven, that can be even worse. And that really resonated with me as well, because that's such a valid point. And I just want to give you guys a lot of credit for just being members since the start here. And just for all the progress you've made and the help you've given in so many people's lives, in this room and outside of this room, as well as your son. I think from all I've listened to over the years, his growth as a person and maturity as he's matured, a large part of that is due to you still being in his life as mom and dad. And like you said, you have a good man for a son. There were some mistakes, and hopefully those mistakes don't take away the rest of his life, and you'll do what you can to try to ensure that while helping others with the same possibilities. I think it's awesome. I really appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
There's a couple things I'd like to say. For one thing, I'm grateful for both of you. A lot of different reasons, just enhancing what Prescott was saying, that from the time you've come here, both of you have been an integral part of our membership here. And you do more than just come to this meetings, you do other things. You were doing some before you came here, and you're doing even more now. You're heavily involved in it. And I mean, it's like what Rich was talking about when he was talking about the family. We've spoke about that in here before, and we have become a family. And it's important to all of us. But there was something else I wanted to say was that there were a couple things that you touched on when you were saying, Rich, that really hit me. One, as I've shared here before, I was in prison several years, and after my last escape, it was all over the newspaper. A lot of things happened, and some related things to it. That my dad was so embarrassed that he took every sick leave, every vacation day. He refused to go to work. He worked at Cape Canaveral, and he refused to go to work until he had to, because he was so embarrassed. And I didn't know that. And as I've shared with many people before tonight, is that, you know, he's not my biological father, but what he's taught me is that love is thicker than blood. And it hurts me that I put him through it, but things I understand a little bit of what you're going through from what I've heard about what my dad went through. And as a son, I can tell you that, it hurts me that I put my dad through that, but I'm proud of my dad. And I'm proud of you too, because I feel like you and my dad would get along great. You're both very good men, you're both very supportive. And that's another thing I wish we could see more of here. As you said, not many men will come in here. But you come and you're faithful to us, you're faithful to your wife, you're faithful to your son, and it helps in a lot of ways. And I just want to add on to that. It's very important to us that you're here. Everybody else is here. And there's something else I'd like to add while we're talking here. That one of the things that Kim was reading about when we talk about things we do is we will encourage the members of the support group to establish or support a community service effort. And something that's grown out of here that in this room is we've helped 2 prisons with donations and stuff, and we're working on it now to where we want to help others. That's something that's grown out of this. And we're helping other people. We send letters out at Christmas. There's things that we do from this room that helps other people. And you're all a part of that, a very integral part of it. And I'll say thank you.
We have,
I just wanted to thank Roseanne for my cake.
Hey, for anybody who wants to know that one of our integral members couldn't make it tonight, but Vicki's birthday was just a few days before, and we surprised her with one of her favorites, German chocolate cake made by Roseanne, and we miss you, Roseanne, but we loved your cake.
Yeah. Hope you watch.
Thank you, Roseanne.
so we have time for one more comment or question. All right. Well, getting back to our format as we bring it to a close, this is the part of the meeting where, John, if you have any announcements or updates as to upcoming schedule and such that you might want to go over.
Okay, well, the one thing is we'll talk about it more in a few minutes, but we normally have a potluck, as he was reading the thing, on the 5th Sunday of each month, and we have 5 Sundays this month, but we're going to move it up to we're going to have it next week instead. It's on the 4th week instead of the 5th week, and we'll figure out in a few minutes where we're going to hold that, what we're going to do, but I did want to say that. And the other thing I want to share with you is that I shared last week about what may happen soon, or no, I shared that it would happen soon, that I had appointments with members of the Catholic Church over Prison Ministry for all 4 southern Florida counties, and that's going to happen, one this week and one the week after. And I hope very much that one of the things that happens out of this meeting is that we get to expand the Love Ops meetings to other areas. And for the sake of anybody hearing this video, if you go to our website, it's Ephesians428ministries.org or EPH428.org, and you will see a page there, Lighthouse Love Ops, that has videos on it and the outline we have for the meetings. And one of the things that we have in the process, we're having the outline changed to Spanish, so that if we can put together groups of Hispanics in other areas, we'll already have the outline there for them. So I want to share that as well.
Just to expound on that a little bit, to clarify, anyone in this room or anyone watching, Love Ops is a format that is transferable to any location in the world. We have it in English and Spanish, and we would be only too happy to help you get a meeting started in your area if you can't make it to our area for this meeting. Okay? Anything else? Announcements? Anything?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it next week, the potluck, or the week after?
Next week.
Next week.
No, it's not next week.
It's the week
It's the
after.
21st.
Oh, so it's 2 weeks. I apologize. So I'm glad you straightened. 2 weeks from now, on the 21st.
22nd.
Oh, 22nd, correct. 22nd.
22nd, not the
Oh, but
21st.
we'll survive.
Yeah,
We're going to have it on the 22nd.
22nd?
In 2 weeks.
Yeah, the 22nd. As amazing as my wife is, when I sent her that information, since you guys are going to be out of town, we were going to have it at my house and
I know.
we just do it. But she leaves on the 21st out of town, and she said, but honey, it's no problem, I can just make everything, have it all in the fridge, you pop it in the oven, and I'll have everything all laid out, and instructions on what to do and how to do it, so that's still a possibility,
She's so wonderful.
if I'm willing or able to do all that, because it's not the same without her
Right, I
hospitality.
was gonna say, we need Maria.
Yeah, so we will
Yeah.
schedule
Not
another
that we don't
time.
love you, Frisco, but we need Maria.
Exactly. Yeah, I could put on an apron, but I don't think it would make a difference.
We're the same.
No, I don't think I would put on an apron.
No, they
At least not
the
that
same.
We just want to let everyone know after the meeting, please join us for coffee, snacks, and getting to know each other better. And in closing, we would like you to, wait, where's my reading number 2? I don't see it in here. Oh, here it is, okay, I'm sorry. So John, just one quick question. So next week is what's on the agenda?
That will probably be, we do not have a scheduled speaker at this point, so that's probably the week where we just recap
A
things.
recap, okay.
Right.
Alrighty. I've asked someone to read handout number 2.
Well, hi,
That
I'm
was
Michelle,
Thank you.
and this is handout number 2. One day the King will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father. Take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you?" The king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." Jesus. Matthew 25:34-40.
And just one suggestion, Ante, you might consider, if you're able to put a little imprint of the web address or for Facebook Love Ops and Ephesians 4:28, and maybe even your phone number, in case someone does want to start a meeting in their area or would like to attend this one. In closing, we want to encourage everyone to attend church this weekend, and if you're not already a member of a church, seek one to become a part of. Please remember, God is always waiting with open arms and a loving heart for you and all of your problems and struggles. And as many of us, most of us know, we can do all things in Christ who strengthens us. Amen. Please help me in close, and please join me in closing this meeting with the Lord's Prayer. Whose Father?
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
All right. Thank Thank you all.
Thank you.
That was excellent.